Hello, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Analytics in 15. Today we're going to learn about some new features that allow for enhanced and accelerated ETL options for Amazon Redshift with AWS Glue. I'm Brian Dolan. I'm a senior go-to-market specialist for AWS Glue, and I'm happy to walk you through these exciting new capabilities. Let's get to it. All right, quick agenda. First, we'll cover how Amazon Redshift and AWS Glue are better together and fit together in the modern data architecture. We'll talk about some new Redshift ETL options with Glue Studio. I'll do a quick demo, just showing how we can directly interface with our Redshift schemas and tables right in Glue Studio for our visual ETL developers. And then we'll give a quick recap of these exciting new capabilities. So tens of thousands of customers use Amazon Redshift every day to run data warehousing in the cloud and process exabytes of data for business insights. And hundreds of millions of data integration jobs are run every year on AWS Glue, a serverless data integration service that makes it easier to discover, prepare, move, and integrate data. Now, these solutions are even better together. AWS Glue is accelerating and simplifying data integration with Amazon Redshift, speeding time to value from 10 minutes to 30 seconds, delivering one-click Redshift browsing from AWS Glue Studio, and more. When used together, customers can eliminate third-party ETL licensing costs, increase efficiency with tightly integrated data integration capabilities, and benefit from an end-to-end native AWS suite that is also entirely serverless. For example, a common business use case that is often solved with Glue and Redshift is Customer 360, where you are combining data from various data systems, transforming, combining, and enriching that data to be leveraged by downstream consumers. So starting at this high level, we'll cover how Glue and Redshift fit together in a modern data architecture. All right, so when we pull back the covers here and look at the modern data architecture enabled by Redshift and Glue, we see that Glue is able to integrate across your entire data landscape. So AWS Glue is AWS's serverless data integration service. It started as a scalable serverless tool that addressed ETL needs in one place. Since then, we've expanded to become a fully fledged data integration service for many kinds of users and every data preparation workload. AWS Glue simplifies complex, manual, and expensive traditional data integration processes, and it supports the increased data volumes and data diversity encountered by customers in recent years. If we take a look to the left, we see a tapestry of operational databases, application data, and of course, Amazon S3 data lakes, where customers are continually looking to sophisticated new options like transactional data lakes, for example, Iceberg, Hudi, and Delta Lake. On top of all this, AWS Glue scales automatically, has pay-as-you-go billing, and increases agility and optimizes costs. As more companies want to leverage data across their organization to get faster insights, a common request we see is that customers want to query data in one place without moving their data. You can use federated queries that enable querying seamlessly across your data warehouse and operational databases, such as Aurora PostgreSQL, so Redshift can analyze that data across the database, data lake, and data warehouse. Finally, more customers are looking to leverage machine learning technologies to run inferences using Redshift ML, make it easy for SQL developers to run machine learning workloads, or make that data available for the various AWS ML services. In summary, people look to AWS Glue as their data integration service for end-to-end data workloads for price performance by avoiding licensing costs and reducing OpEx costs by over 50%. Better together with services like Redshift, enabling a modern data architecture. Glue is natively serverless, easy to manage, and performance at scale at seconds. And Glue appeals to broad personas, suitable for all types of users who leverage Redshift data. All right, now we're going to take a look at Redshift ETL with Glue Studio and some of the recent enhancements that have come out here. So our most popular interface for Redshift ETL developers is Glue Studio. AWS Glue Studio makes it easy for ETL developers to author, run, and monitor AWS Glue ETL jobs. You can now use a simple visual interface to compose jobs that move and transform data and run them on AWS Glue. You can then use AWS Glue Studio's Job Run dashboard to monitor ETL execution and ensure that your jobs are operating as intended. Feedback from ETL developers was that while the core functionality available in Glue Studio was great, they wanted to find more ways to improve time to value for Redshift use cases in a familiar interface like Glue Studio. So they asked, how can we reuse existing SQL logic within Glue? When tuning performance or handling advanced scenarios, how can we minimize how much of the custom coding that needs to be done? And how can we reduce steps by automating common data warehouse tasks that are executed with every job run? We took this feedback seriously as we want to improve the efficiency and time to value for Redshift ETL users. So let's walk through some of the enhancements that allow our ETL developers to get started quickly through direct access to Redshift through Glue Studio. First, Glue Studio has the option for the direct data connection with Redshift, allowing ETL developers to browse Redshift schema and tables from Glue Studio, with auto-populated defaults for performance and security out of the box. This allows you to browse Redshift schema and tables directly from Glue Studio, as you can see here. Our latest Glue and Redshift enhancements also allow you to customize your source using a SQL query. So you can access Redshift views or execute joins for a dynamic data source, execute ELT right on top of Redshift with Redshift SQL, and launch Redshift Query Editor from Glue Studio to copy or paste SQL for those developers who want to make slight code changes or reuse their Redshift SQL. Glue Studio allows you to simplify common tasks when working with Redshift, with the ability to select existing tables or create new tables, choose between common target actions like append, merge, truncate, or drop. While we can use Glue Studio's built-in options, you can also enter your own custom merge statements as well. All right, now we'll go into a quick demo to show how easy it is to update Redshift tables using Glue Studio. All right, we'll fire up a visual ETL job here in Glue Studio. We'll start with a visual job with a blank canvas. We're going to be working with some synthesized trading data today to demonstrate some very simple patterns. We'll set up our source from an S3 bucket. Here we have a database and iceberg table pre-made with some synthesized trading data. Here you can see the format is identified as Apache Iceberg. We're going to run an aggregate transform to go ahead and aggregate the data by our stock symbol or company symbol and the trade amount. And we're going to get the sum of those trade amounts. I'm going to do a transform to rename the field. If we don't like those parentheses or our downstream consumers are expecting something different, we can go ahead and rename that. I'll use trade and underscore amount. And we'll bring in the Redshift source for the table that we'll want to update with our new data from the iceberg table. As you can see, we can directly browse the schema and table within Redshift. We'll go to our pre-populated company global table here. We're going to do a simple join from our rename field. And we're going to let it know that our company symbol, and we're going to add the condition that company underscore symbol equals our rename field symbol attribute. We'll add a transform for a derived column for a dynamic update of our totals. We'll name it last day flow. And we'll call the name of this derived column the total valuation. And that'll be the sum of our last day flow plus the total valuation. There we go. So we'll populate which fields we want in these derived columns. And then we'll bring in Redshift as our target, selecting our schema and table. where we want these new updated properties to go. All right, so to ground that simple demo in a real-world business scenario, here's one where we have an ETL engineer who is updating their customer profiles stored in Redshift based on many daily account transactions stored in an iceberg table on S3. Ultimately, the analyst wants to use the account transaction data to update the customer profiles with the latest transactions so that it is easy to rank the top 10 customers by total transactions over the last day. As we saw in the demo, technically this will involve extracting iceberg data stored in S3, joining it with an existing Redshift table containing customer profiles, then joining the transactions based on customer name and summing or aggregating the day's transactions, and updating the customer's total valuation. Finally, we need to merge the updated records back into the customer profile. Here, QuickSight can easily perform ranking based on total valuation. The goal here is to show how easy it is to get started with Redshift ETL and Glue. Simple business cases like this showcase how easy it is to get started with Redshift ETL and Glue. Next, we'll then show you how to enrich your data. For this demo, we'll have a scenario where an ETL engineer is updating customer profiles stored in Redshift based on many daily account transactions stored in iceberg tables in S3. Ultimately, the analyst wants to use the account transaction data to update the customer profiles with their latest transactions so that it is easy to rank the top 10 customers by total transactions over the last day.
So let's say we have a case where our business analysts or business users want to enrich this data a little bit more and pivot on some different attributes of the data. Thankfully, Glue has built-in pattern detection that can easily be applied to this incoming data, and in this case we can detect which region a particular bank account is from. Using this information, we can now enrich the data with regional totals instead of a single global sum, and then pivot based on that region. AWS Glue Studio and Amazon Redshift allow you to do this in seconds now, giving you the ability to author, execute, schedule, and monitor, all from a simple visual interface, interacting with the data warehouse through a native Spark connector.
In summary, this webinar covered how AWS Glue is accelerating and simplifying data integration with Amazon Redshift, speeding time to value from 10 minutes to 30 seconds, with simple patterns for ETL developers right in Glue Visual Studio like we just saw. With AWS Glue and Amazon Redshift working better together, customers can recognize price performance advantages by avoiding licensing costs and reducing OpEx costs by over 50%. Customers can recognize the better together benefits of operating on a modern data architecture with AWS native services. Customers can leverage a native serverless end-to-end data solution that's easy to manage with performance at scale in seconds, and that appeals to broad personas suitable for all types of users who leverage Redshift data. Thank you for joining us. To learn more, please visit our respective product websites or visit the AWS blog site where, in this blog posted here, we explore the new ETL and ELT capabilities for Amazon Redshift and Glue Studio.